I think that if, and we'll never see this, but if Islam in his prime fought Khabib in his prime,
we rolling! Yeah! All night long.
What's good, y'all? Making the Wild Podcast, episode 22. We're back in the house this time. Cooped up, working, but we still here to talk fights. So if you haven't done it already, which you should have, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Comment and let us know what you think that we should do as a consequence of losing the picks on the events. Primarily CJ. You should be talking about her because I don't plan on losing anything. But whatever you think that we should do, within reason, nothing stupid, let us know down in the comments, and we'll try to make that happen for her because that's what's going to happen. So, how are you? How does it feel to have that week off from the UFC?
It was refreshing, but obviously I missed it because I was watching one championship, which was really good. I think there was 5 or 6 knockouts, and I learned something new, which is they follow more of a boxing style when it comes to knockouts. So they allow the person who got knocked out or down to give them a countdown. So that was really cool. Mm-hmm. I also, I really like that. I really like that. They also don't give individual round. They really don't reveal. What is it called?
What, like the individual round scores?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they don't reveal the individual round scores, so those are really cool too.
Per round. Yeah, they don't score per round. They judge the entirety of the fight, which is different. Which, I mean, you know, there's pros and cons either way, but I think that if you judge something, I mean, like we talked about with the Grasso against Shevchenko fight, if you judge a fight out just in the street, you see these two people fighting, and the way that you judge it is the way that one championship judges it. Just like I think that in that fight, I think Alexa Grasso won the fight, but I could see where if you slice it up into individual rounds, where Shevchenko could have taken more rounds, possibly. One championship doesn't want to get into that situation, and so they judge the entirety of the fight, which is cool. I mean, it's cool unless you've been fighting somebody and you've been dominating them for 14 minutes and 30 seconds of a fight, and in the last 30 seconds, they clip you and you have to survive for 30 seconds, but you beat their ass for 14 minutes.
I'm just going to say she did not get her ass beat for 14 minutes.
I'm just saying hypothetically, like, what if that were the case? Like, how does that go?
It goes like it did on UFC Noche. But it was a draw. Anyway, okay, we're not going to get into that today, but she did win. So anyway, what I thought was interesting also, the what's his name? Man, the guy who like owns one championship, the Dana White one championship.
Chatri, and I mess up his name every time, but his last name, it starts with an S, but it's Chatri is his first name. I know.
Tall Tree.
I know that much. No, not Tall Tree.
No, I know. I heard it. But
you call that man Tall Trees.
Yeah, I like him. I like his Kanye vibe, the old Kanye that everybody misses. But he will do the whole thing where he's like not smiling. Something makes him smile, and he's like,
he tries to hold it in.
Yeah, it's cool. But he did say something that I thought it made sense. I don't know if I agree with this or not, but did you see where he said like the UFC and one championship have like the same amount of fighters on their roster, but he feels like the fighters that are on his roster are more focused in their disciplines. And this is what he said. This is why you see fights that are not as sloppy as the UFC, which I was like, ooh, but
shots fired.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, they do have like but it's mixed martial arts. So, I mean, what do you think about that?
Well, in a sense, I agree with what he's saying. And from the perspective that if you are a Muay Thai specialist and you're in the UFC, you're still going to fight mixed martial arts.
Mm-hmm.
But in one championship, you can focus, like Rotang, you can focus on Muay Thai. If you are a jiu-jitsu player, you can focus on jiu-jitsu, so on and so forth. So in the UFC, you get there like, no, you are a mixed martial artist. You need to know all of these disciplines because all of this can be used against you. So in that sense, I do agree with him. But as far as the sloppiness of the fights, I think there's sloppy. There's enough sloppy fights to go around all the organizations, PFL, Bellator included. There's going to be sloppy fights from time to time. People get tired, whatever. So to say that UFC has more sloppy fights, I think it's in the eye of the beholder. He probably doesn't view his that way. He'll probably look at them and say, "Oh, well, that one, there was a lot of courage in that fight. These are two dogs. Things like that. Those catchphrases." He'd probably throw that in there, but I don't agree with that part of it. But as far as the ability to focus on a discipline, yeah, that's true. That's true. I give you that.
Yeah. So what he actually said was that the UFC roster has sloppy, mediocre-ish striking due to the background of its fighters. So I just wanted to clear that up. Yeah.
That's an even hotter take. I thought it was like a, kind of a lukewarm take, but no, he went full hot sizzle on the take with him. Okay.
He's taking heads on this one. Yeah, he said that one emphasizes on striking and has world champion fighters in various disciplines. So he's actually saying the inverse. I think no. Yeah, no. It's exactly what you're saying, where they're focusing on their specific discipline. So, yeah. I don't know if I agree with him, but I will say the very few promotions I've seen for one championship have been pretty damn good. Like, kind of hard to argue with them.
They have been. Where I think that one suffers versus UFC is, well, two things. Is the language. What?
Well, yeah, you're right. The language barrier, but also just like maybe experience and professionalism, just all in all. So, are you thinking about the guy with the coffee that walked in?
Oh no, I wouldn't even think about that dude. But that's they gotta tighten up. They put some ropes up, some velvet ropes. Hey, fam, don't go that way. He came in with some full on Starbucks. It don't say Starbucks on it because it's in whatever they speak over there. And so he walked through and he's like, "What the? Oh shit, go that way?" I mean, everywhere he moved, he was more in the frame of the camera. It just got worse, and they just had to like, dude, get your ass out the way. And he was confused,
so sad. It was sad.
But no, I wasn't going there though. But that's true. They need to tighten up on that shit. But the language barrier, like you said, and then also just the ability, and I've said it before, the UFC has a great ability to tell stories, which is what, people need to know when they're going into these events. I mean, it's just more exciting, more, they tie somebody to a fighter when they know their story,
Yeah, that's true. I mean, when you watch movies, do you go into the movies understanding like the premise of the movie and things like that? Or do you prefer to go in blindly and just be surprised?
I do prefer to go in a little blind and be surprised. However, I kind of look at it using that same analogy. I kind of look at it as more of ONE FC is making movies, but the UFC is trying to make a series, a long running series that you have to come back for over and over again. So it's two different frames of mind, and I think both can be successful. And I think ONE is killing it over there on the east side over there. But I think that if they're trying to rival the UFC to where the UFC won't even go into their territory, it ain't gonna happen. Because the UFC, the brand and their ability to build stars is really second to none when it comes to combat sports. So.
Yeah, I mean, I like both. I like both sides. It just depends on what kind of fan you are. Do you tie yourself to these fighters and their stories? I feel like there's a lot of not Advent, fans that are probably tired of the stories and just that letdown and just decided, you know what, I'm just going to watch the fucking fight. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of long time fans that are kind of tired of being attached to the stories, being heartbroken and shit. And they just kind of watch the fight.
That's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah.
When you invest yourself in these things, I think the fans that are kind of got one foot in and one foot out are kind of losing the real value that they could be gaining when somebody that they've been following for a while finally gets to, that pinnacle, finally gets a belt or something like that. Like, just think of the people who've been supporting Charles Oliveira ever since he was a featherweight and he wore glasses. And when he became champion, just think of how they felt. Like, you're losing out on those sorts of things, in my opinion, when you don't invest yourself. But
yeah, I don't think it's
easy for me to say.
Right. Yeah, I don't think it's right or wrong. I think there's just a lot of different ways to watch it, and I can totally see a person that has been watching it for so long, and it's like, you know what, I'm tired of this being heartbroken, so I'm just gonna watch the fights, enjoy the fights. So that's cool too. I like both sides, but I
agree.
Let's get into it.
Let's talk some fights. Let's talk some fights. So what do you got on your list?
Number 5, I want to say. We've got Curtis Blaydes versus Jailton Almeida. So, yeah, it's one you don't want to miss. It's interesting. I was pretty excited about this one. But, you got Curtis Blaydes on one side with, his wrestling skills. Then you've got Almeida, who has some damn good striking, but also has some grappling, but is on the jiu-jitsu side of things. And I think that's, just like your classic striker versus grappler. But what do you think? Do you think Almeida's gonna take him to the ground and see if his jiu-jitsu is better than his wrestling?
Yeah, I think so. I think Almeida is definitely going to try to get this to the ground. And Curtis will oblige him. It's just Curtis doesn't necessarily want to be on the bottom. So two interesting things. Why would Curtis not want to be on the bottom?
Yeah.
Because he's a wrestler. He's not a jiu-jitsu person. So a wrestler wants to apply top pressure. Wrestlers, when they are learning to wrestle, like, that's one of their biggest thing is don't have your back on the mat. Your back hits the mat, like, that's a bad situation. In jiu-jitsu, you could have your back on the mat because you can still throw up submissions. And so it's two different schools of thought. And Almeida is a pressure submission artist. He uses his frame. He's a big dude, but to kind of transition into getting submissions. I think his striking. I actually think their striking is even. I don't think that Almeida is any better than Curtis with striking. I think they're both super powerful. They're big dudes, so they're going to be really powerful, and either one of them can put the other one out. But
I think Almeida's just like a little bit, like he's just a little bit cleaner, where like Curtis is going to throw, I think, heavier shots. I just think Almeida's a little bit more crisp. They're going to be a little more like, probably more jabs than Curtis, who's probably going to be throwing like overhands and shit like that.
So maybe one thing that I think will be interesting is kind of the game before the game is how much will Almeida weigh going into this fight? So Almeida originally came to the UFC kind of doing two divisions. He was fighting light heavyweight and heavyweight. So that tells me that he's going to come in probably lighter than Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis. Why does everybody be Chris Curtis today? Curtis Blaydes. I think he's
Have
going to
I
come
been
in
calling him
lighter.
Chris Curtis this whole time?
No.
Oh, okay.
That's something on Twitter. Like people mix them up all the time. It's funny,
It's
but
yeah, it's well, I see why, but you're
black
right.
dude with a beard.
Sorry.
But
But Curtis right now, going off of Sure Dog, he's 263. I don't know if that's what he weighed in at his last fight, but Almeida is at 231. So yeah,
big difference, right? Big
it's a
old
big
difference.
difference, and that could be good or bad on both sides. So
Could be, yeah. There's pros and cons to that, but I do. I mean, I am curious how that will go because we don't often see. I'm not even gonna say often. We don't see Curtis Blaydes get out wrestled and put on his back. We just don't. The people who beat him knocked him out. You know, Derek Lewis knocked him out.
Sergey,
Sergey. So you got, and then Francis Ngannou, what, put him out twice.
with Francis, oh my gosh, I won't get into it, but I just recently saw a clip of Francis whispering to him about how he was going
Was
to
he
put him to
whispering?
sleep or something. Yeah, he was
Sweet
whispering to him.
nothings. Oh
Francis,
no,
he had a little swag around that time. Now he's just kind of like, fucking Batman, all quiet and shit. But
because he's
Francis
preparing.
Ngannou is the real Batman, by the way. Sorry, Gilby. But yeah, that was really funny. But you're right. His losses have been knockouts to pretty big guys too.
Yeah,
Surprisingly
you know,
though, he did have that win over Aspinall.
but that was only because Aspinall got hurt.
Fair,
So
fair. Forgot about that.
Aspinall,
Okay, yeah.
tweaked his knee. Like they didn't even fight really. They don't.
Mm,
Both neither fighter really acknowledged that as being a fight that was either won or lost. They went out and
mm.
drank beer afterwards. Like neither
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
But
okay. Well, I'll give him. He did. Curtis Blaydes had that one over Jairzinho, and so did Almeida. So
yeah,
Jairzinho's a big boy.
they both took him down. And Jairzinho Rosenstruck's takedown defense is not that great. So that doesn't impress me when it comes to Jailton Almeida taking down Curtis Blaydes. Like I just it's going to be a tough task. Now, not to
It
say that it can't
impressed
happen.
me from Curtis's side because it was a submission, and I didn't pay attention enough to Curtis with submissions, and he actually has quite a few. Like I'm
Yeah,
looking, and he's like arm triangle, things like that. So when I think of a wrestler, I honestly don't think of submissions a lot. So that did
it
kind of
depends.
surprise me. But when with
It depends
Almeida,
on the wrestler.
it's more of the size. Because
Hmm.
Jairzinho, that's not an easy match. Like that is a
No,
big boy and will knock your ass smooth out. So
true.
I'm excited about this fight.
I
This
am
is gonna be
too. I'm
fun.
curious. For me, it's more so on the Curtis Blades part of it. Like,
Oh shit. Are
okay,
we doing
so
picks?
we might as well. Every time we get to this point where Curtis Blades can make a move to get into the title conversation, something happens. He runs into Derek Lewis or Francis Ngannou. Something happens and he gets knocked down a couple pegs. He beats some people and then moves back up and then it happens again. Is he going to be able to take care of Jailton Almeida and move into that conversation with the Aspinalls, the Pavlovich, the Cyril Gans? So I
Mm,
think I'm picking Curtis Blades.
I knew
I'm going to
it.
take Curtis Blades.
I
I
knew
think
it.
it's going to be an issue for Almeida to get him to the ground, and in turn, Curtis Blades is going to take over the fight from a wrestling perspective. Not to say that Almeida can't catch him from his back because he can, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Curtis Blades gets him.
This one's actually a really hard pick for me. I think I'm going Almeida though. I'd like to see him climb these ranks and get into this like top 5 mix. I think he's ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he would do that by any kind of knockout or TKO, to be honest, but I think it'll be a submission win for him.
Interesting. Yeah. If we had Spence on this, E. Spencer Kite, if y'all don't follow him, follow him. But he's definitely picking Almeida. The way I feel about Roman Kopylov, that's how he feels about Johnson Almeida.
Wait, okay, I didn't finish that video, so I didn't hear any of that. Where you guys are talking like about up and comers, I didn't get to finish it, so I got to finish that video.
Yeah,
okay.
it's a pretty cool conversation. We talk about some deep cuts. If y'all are into that and want to learn more about fighters that you don't know about, definitely check that out.
Yeah, you got to link it out for them too.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description for sure.
All right, so we've got our
what
picks.
else we got?
We've got Curtis Blaydes. You're going Curtis. I'm going Almeida. So next we've got Pantoja and Royval.
Raw dog. Okay.
Man, I almost just want to like do my pick and then let you do your thing because I'm sure this is like.
Yeah, go ahead. Do you think?
So I'm just. I don't have a pick because I don't want to pick anything between these two. I don't. This might be my favorite fight on the list. So it's going to be hard for me to take a pick, and I'm just going to sit back and enjoy the show on this one. Can I do that? No?
I mean, if you want to. She's going to abstain.
They did it on UFC Noche. It is a draw.
That means you can't gain or lose. So that's good. But if I gain, might be a problem. Anyway.
It might just be like a thing where I have to see them during like media day and just kind of see where they are, where it's like seconds before the fight, I look at you and I'm like, I think this guy's going to win. It might be that thing. Yeah.
Maybe. Well, I don't know. But
don't act like that doesn't happen. Don't act like it doesn't happen. And
no, it does. It does.
99% of the time when that happens, I'm right. So.
I mean, I haven't checked the numbers.
Okay, well, but that division is really growing, and you were showing me something earlier about like the stats in that division and the knockouts.
So Nate Latshaw, another good follow on Twitter. He posted the UFC finish rates over the last 10 years, and it's interesting because flyweight gets had this stigma that they don't finish fights. But over the last 10 years, they have a 57% finish rate. That is higher than the bantamweight division, the featherweight division, the lightweight division, and the light heavyweight division. Higher than all of those. So I think that anybody that looks at the smaller fighters and, thinks that it may not be exciting, you're getting some fast technical fights between people who are in amazing condition and who can finish fights. And I think that this fight is going to be a fight that will be finished. I think that one way or the other, either Brandon Royval, who's an extraordinary finisher, either with his hands, he's kicked some people to sleep, and he can submit you. Super slick in all kinds of scrambles. We've been on the Brandon Royval train for, I think, since the first time you saw him. You were like, okay, I like that kid. And Pantoja, I've been a fan of his ever since saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. So it is one of those where you kind of wish they both could win. But I think I'm going to go Brandon Royval on this one. I'm going to go raw dog on this one. And it's really no technical reason at all. I just have a feeling that he gets it done.
By the way, what I didn't know is that he already fought Pantoja, or maybe if I did know, I forgot. But he did lose by submission. So was that in the second round? Okay, second round. Yeah, I don't know. I've got to see them on media day. I'm not sure now. I mean, Pantoja 26 wins, 5 losses, and then Brandon 15 wins, 6 losses. So, little more experience for Pantoja.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I
But
don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'm going against the theory that champions get 30% better when they win the belt, but I don't just have a feeling that Royval somehow sneaks in there and gets it done.
this might be the only fight that, I mean, it just kind of passed, but the fact that Moreno didn't get the rematch, I wasn't happy about it, but I am happy about this fight. So I think this is the scenario that's kind of going to change the perspective of, hey, maybe they don't always need to do that rematch, that immediate rematch.
Mm-hmm. You know what? That's a good question to throw out to people, and I think that we could probably throw this in a segment when we bring on the guest. Like, what fights, what championship fights, or what needs to happen for a championship fight to have a mandatory rematch? Like, does it have to be a draw, or does it have to just be a close fight, or whatever? I think that's a question that a lot of people have, and maybe we can answer in a future episode.
All right, so we've got Kelvin Gastelum and Sean Brady. Sean Brady
Mm-hmm.
was undefeated until his last fight, right?
Yeah.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
15 fights. So 15 wins, 1 loss to Blahal, who is
Mm-hmm.
growing on me. Um, you know, hmm. What is interesting about this fight?
I mean, I think it's interesting that Kelvin Gastelum. Okay, so you remember who Kelvin fought last, right? It was Chris Curtis.
Chris Curtis.
And, yes, and it was kind of a
Oh,
controversial
yeah, that
situation.
one though, right?
I think that Chris
Okay.
Curtis won that fight, but now because of that win in quotation marks, he gets to go up and fight somebody in the top 10. Like, that in essence should have probably been Chris Curtis's fight, or they could have run it back. But Kelvin was like, he took his ball and went home. It was like, I'm not playing you no more. So
Man, Kelvin has a
that
weird
sucks.
record. Like
Mm-hmm.
initially, I kind of understand why the UFC really likes him. But man, his record. So that first loss that he had to Tyron Woodley almost feels kind of like the start of it, because after that, like, he lost to Neil Magny. Doesn't think how little Neil
Mm-hmm.
is, but I'm not a fighter, so I can't say anything. But
Mm-hmm.
then he loses to Chris Weidman. He's got to win against Bisping. And then this is where it starts getting a little hairy, because he loses to Adesanya, Darren Till, Hermanson. He's got to win over Ian. I can't say his last name. Then he loses to Whitaker, Jared. These are all the names like at the top, which make me feel like they gave him Chris Curtis. Okay, I didn't think he won that fight, to be honest. So I think Sean Brady is a good matchup for him, just to redeem himself from all of these losses. Now, these are all decisions. They've all gone the distance, but I'm going Brady on this one. Sorry, Kelvin.
Yeah, I'm going Brady too. I think that Kelvin, one, I still don't think that he should be in this division. Like, I think that he should be a welterweight.
That's right. We talked
I
about that. I
think that,
totally forgot
yeah.
about that. Yeah, isn't this? Yeah.
Now,
Mm,
even though I say that, he gave um, Israel Adesanya everything in that fight, and clipped him numerous times
mm,
before just getting demolished in the fifth round.
mm-hmm,
But I think that Kelvin has a path to victory. It's not that he doesn't. He's a really good wrestler. Has dynamite in his right hand, but I think Sean Brady learned from that Bilal ass whooping that he took in Abu Dhabi.
mm-hmm,
Um, I think that he learned, just how you lose and you learn. It's that type of thing. He took a
mm-hmm.
lot of things that Bilal, uh, just cutting off the cage. Bilal just wouldn't let him get started. And I think that he learned that lesson. And so Kelvin, being a different fighter, being a smaller fighter, I think that Sean's going to take advantage of that, be able to wrestle him a little bit, show him different looks. And I think that that youth is just going to win out. So got to take Brady on this one. Sorry, Kelvin.
I just want you to know that your skin looks magnificent. It's all glowy. And if we had a sponsor, that would be a perfect segue for a sponsor for some skin shit. So, I just want to give you a compliment, throw it out there. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate it. I appreciate all the compliments. And hopefully that we can parlay that into a nice sponsorship. I mean, we'll do any sponsorship. We'll do Manscaped. We'll do...
Our balls are not hot because we don't have hot balls. Okay.
No. Mine are very cool, but that could be cool because of Manscaped. You see what I'm saying? You see how that goes?
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
Rob Font and Deiveson.
David
McDavid.
Hey, if you are in Texas, you know the David McDavid jingle.
Okay. Jangle. Deiveson Figueiredo.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna hit you with the Mega No Levy question, okay?
Oh.
Yeah. I grabbed the mic and everything. Okay, Mr. Jackson. So how do you think these fighters contributed to or benefited from increasing respect for this lighter weight class?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I think that Deiveson Figueiredo, he's benefited in the sense that he's been a part of the movement. There's a reason that there's only been one fight that's been made 4 times with him and Brandon Moreno, because it basically carried the division, but it also carried an event with them being so exciting. And this, just the ability to run that back multiple times, let you know the skill level of both fighters and of the division as a whole. And then when it comes to Rob Font, I will admittedly say I did count him out against Adrian Yanez, and he showed that he ain't done. He ain't done. Now, he did get wet blanketed against Corey Sandhagen, but Rob Font is still a player in that division. I know he's in his mid-30s now, but he doesn't necessarily show any signs of slowing down. And this is a pretty big test for Deiveson Figueiredo to go up and fight somebody with that type of hands, that type of power in his hands, that type of cardio. I'm curious as to how Deiveson Figueiredo is going to play and what kind of style he's going to use. Because when he fought other fighters in the flyweight division, he used his size, he used his power against him or against them. And he's not going to be able to use that against somebody like a Rob Font. So I'm optimistic that he'll do well in the division. But I think that once he starts to get into the upper echelon of the division against those bigger guys, his size is going to start to work against him. But this is a big test for him to see how that goes. But did you want me to give my pick, or you want to give your pick first?
I'm analyzing over here because I don't want to go for Deiveson Figueiredo just because I have seen more of his fights.
Yeah.
When you said that you counted him out against Adrian Yanez, it did make me second guess. So get hit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go Rob Font on this. I think that Rob will use his boxing, his size against Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't think that Deiveson Figueiredo is a good wrestler per se. He's a very opportunistic jiu-jitsu player. He will snatch a limb or a neck with ease, but I don't think that Rob Font puts himself in that situation, and I don't think that Deiveson can get him down consistently. And then when it comes to striking, Deiveson, that power, I don't know how that power is going to transfer, but I'm going to bet that power doesn't have the significance that it had at flyweight. And I think that Rob Font is going to be able to walk through that.
Man, this is going to be Deiveson's first fight in featherweight, right?
Or bantamweight.
Bantamweight.
Yeah. He's a flyweight champion, so he's going up to bantamweight, so 135.
Okay. I guess I don't know my weight classes then.
I mean, they're confusing.
Anyway, so it's confusing. Yeah. So, I just can't imagine him any bigger than what he is today. He's he's a tiny. Yeah. Yeah, I am leaning toward Rob Font.
For me,
do you think this is going to be a stand-up match, or do you think that they're going to be grappling?
I think it's going to be a stand-up fight.
Think it's going to be a striking match? Yeah,
but the reason is because if it were on the ground, then Deiveson has the advantage. And I think that Rob Font is the one that's going to dictate where this fight is. And he wants it to be on the feet. It's going to be on the feet. Mm-hmm. And I think that he takes advantage of all 5'5" of Deiveson Figueiredo. I don't think that he's going to be able to use his power weapons the way that he did the flyweights. Now,
you don't think he's going to have trouble with how tall he is? I've seen that before, where the taller fighter has a little bit of issue for whatever reason, striking with someone that's shorter.
I don't think so.
Sounds kind of dumb, but I've seen it before, especially when the shorter fighter is pretty fast too.
Yeah, a power puncher too. I mean, we just talked about one, Kelvin Gastulum, what he did against Israel Adesanya. Kelvin Gastulum is 5'9". Yeah. Izzy is 6'4". Like that's a massive amount of reach and length that he's given up, but he was still able to get inside. And Deiveson, he can get in there. Rob Font is probably not used to fighting somebody shorter than him.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Is like you're fighting someone that's shorter than you, probably faster, but they're pretty equal. Like they both have 9 knockouts, KO, TKO. I mean, it looks like they're pretty equal.
I don't know.
This is my casual take. Okay, this is my casual take. I'm gonna go Deiveson. Okay, I found it. It's the shorter fighter thing. I really love when there's like a shorter fighter and they're going against someone that's taller than them, bigger than them. I'm gonna go Deiveson. I'm also excited to see him fight someone other than Brandon, although that was amazing.
Yeah, he's been fighting Brandon for years, but yeah, no, I agree. I do want to see him against somebody that he's going to be comfortable with the weight, and because he does kind of kill himself to get down to 125. So I think that he'll be happier going into fight week. He'll feel better. His body will feel better. He'll hydrate better. But my guess is that it's not going to matter. I think that Rob Font still finds a way to punch him in the face more than he gets punched in the face. So that's what's going to happen. We shall see.
All right. Okay. So you're going Rob Font. I'm going Deiveson Figueiredo. WGS. Okay. Yep. So next one we got Makhachev and Charles Oliveira. That's really the number one fight that's been announced that we all knew was coming. So
yeah. So the last fight that we'll discuss is a big one. October 21st down in Abu Dhabi. Charles do Bronx Oliveira attempts to take his title back from Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev don't even have a nickname because he don't need a nickname. That's how good that man is.
Who said? Islam Are you serious? He doesn't have a nickname? We'll get you one, Islam. Okay, wait a minute. We'll find you a nickname.
Islam Dumbface Makhachev. That's what he does.
Come on now. Yeah. No. He's got a nickname.
He's got it.
We'll get you a nickname, sir.
Hey, that dumb face don't mean he can't fight. He be he smashes on people. But
see, that's what I would do if I were a fighter. I'd be like, I don't need no motherfucking nickname. That's cool. I didn't know that. Is he the only one in the UFC doesn't have a nickname?
Oh no, there's tons of people that don't have nicknames.
Khabib, whatever the fuck, Khabib even
has
the
a Eagle.
nickname.
Yeah, but there's a lot. There's a lot of fighters that do not have a nickname, and I think that, and we've talked about nicknames before, but like I think that nicknames should be given, not you don't give it to yourself. You got to earn a nickname.
I drink your milkshake, Makhachev.
I want to put the clip in, but I know that we're gonna get copyrighted. You know what I'm saying?
For real?
But I'm fairly certain we'll get copyrighted.
What?
I think, but I don't know. But we'll read up on it. Who knows? Okay. Put that shit in the comments. I don't know. But but yeah, Islam Makhachev against Charles do Bronx Part 2 down in Abu Dhabi. First of all, I'm gonna ask you this: do you think that it is fair for that fight to be down in Abu Dhabi? The reason I'm gonna tell you why. I'm is because
you know what? Tell me why and El Como Pau. Okay.
Okay.
So go ahead and do that.
So now this is a home game for Islam, which he's the champion. He should, be allowed to get this home game. But I feel like if the fight was in Vegas, it would be a little bit different. Not saying that I would favor Charles over Islam, because I actually favor Islam, but I think it would be a closer fight because the travel to Abu Dhabi for Charles seems to be an issue. Now, I'm not saying that they should cater to Charles, but in order to have a more entertaining fight, I think they could have evened the playing field a little bit. And also, Charles did say that he was injured and he needed more time, but he took the fight anyway because we know how that shit goes. Look at Dricus du Plessis. But do you think that this is fair to Charles? Or do you think that it doesn't really fucking matter because he's not the champ?
Man, I love Charles, but fair. This UFC ain't shit fair. Yeah. It's harder for other people. They make it harder for other people. But ain't nothing Charles ain't been through.
Yeah.
Right? So, considering his background, is it fair? I like when they push fighters like this and they make them overcome and on a different path than someone like Islam. Now, I wouldn't say shit was handed to him. It wasn't no Ronda Rousey situation, but pretty motherfucking close.
That motherfucker did skip to my lose straight to the title. It's one of God, those, dog. He beat anybody in the top 5 before he got his shot, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I think it's more so like one of those situations that's like, that's not right. But, so, but did I answer the question? First of all, was it fair? He is a champ. You're right. Makhachev is a champ. But Oliveira has been in the game for a longer time, kind of doing him like Wonder Boy. Man, he don't deserve any respect, but I don't know. Why is it in Abu Dhabi? Is there a reason for that?
Yeah. So Fight Island, they basically signed a deal with the local government to bring it down there a certain amount of time. So they got to have one in Abu Dhabi. So it's mandatory. They got to part of the deal, and they're glad to do it because nobody had any sports on during that time, and because of the government's leeway and the UFC was able to put on fights, and really they grabbed a lot of the attention that would have otherwise gone to football or basketball or soccer in certain regions. So they are indebted to that area and that government. So they're going to go back down there at least once, maybe twice a year, if not more. Yeah. So you kind of have to, from a business perspective, like I get it. I totally understand. why they would do something like that. And you know, Charles, if you don't want to get down, you could have waited, let somebody else take the shot.
What makes it difficult for him, I guess, is just like the flight is really long, or what is
just
it?
on his body. Yeah, just the time change, and it's just difficult for him coming from his part of the world. It's what he said.
Yeah.
It's what he said. So, I mean, and others have said that. Dustin Poirier, when he went to go fight Khabib, he had the same sentiments, same issues. Justin Gaethje has said that he doesn't want to go fight over there either. So, you know, it must be something. There must be something to it.
Some in the water. Okay. Well,
some in the water.
Okay. Well, I guess when it comes to my pick, man, this is another hard one.
Yeah.
I really like both of these guys. Liked Islam as soon as I saw him, and Charles just had to grow on me. Man, I am leaning toward Islam. I'm gonna go Charles.
Charles Du Bronx Oliveira gets his title back.
I'm gonna go Charles.
If CJ had her way, Charles would be the champ.
Although I will say I should actually be rooting for Islam, since, you know, my bingo card. I would like him to fight Beneil, but that's just some alternate universe shit at this point. Fucking Benny. All right.
Yeah. He kind of shit the bed on that one, but
God damn, Islam, can you fight somebody other than motherfucking Charles? Didn't he already fight Charles?
He did. This is the rematch, but I don't blame that on Charles. I mean, on Islam.
I don't blame it on. That's kind of why I want Charles to win, honestly. At least Charles, when he won, he defended against other people in the damn division. Yeah, ooh, I'm kind of feeling some type of way about Islam today, I guess.
It seems that way. It does seem that way. But I will say this about Islam Makhachev. When it comes to defending his belt, I do have an issue that he hasn't defended it against more lightweights, but I also don't think that is necessarily his fault. I think that Alexander Volkanovski's voice in that room when they're making fights in the war room is heavy because of what he's done in the featherweight division. And so he petitioned to get that lightweight shot for a while, and they finally gave it to him. It was a close fight. So that's not Islam's fault necessarily. He just happened to be the champ at the time. He beat Charles to get the belt, so that's who he had to beat. And so now he's fighting the number one contender, who happens to be Charles. They tried to make it not be Charles because they gave it to Bernard Dariush, but he didn't come through. And so
that's true.
That's what they got to do.
That's true.
So,
I
but
do
at
like
the same
Charles,
time,
being a champ. If Islam wins, which it's not obviously far fetched, but if he wins, man, I know everyone wants to see that Volk rematch, and I do too. But I am now flipped because, I do want to see him fight someone else in the division. You're right.
Yeah, if he wins, if he beats Charles Oliveira, which I am predicting him to do, I am choosing Islam.
You're choosing him, but why though?
Why? I think that. Oh, the reason is he's more well-rounded in the areas that he needs to be well-rounded in to beat Charles. I think that when it comes to Charles fighting someone like, let's take Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier is a well-rounded fighter, but you know what he's going to try to do. And his ground game is if there's a meter, it's more on the defensive side than the offensive side.
Who? Charles or Islam?
Dustin, if he was fighting Charles. So that makes him a little bit more predictable. I think that Islam is a little bit less predictable in the sense that he has great wrestling and he has pretty good stand-up. I mean, he did knock Charles down, but everybody does. So I think that Islam's
straight into turtle mode too when you knock him down.
It's hard to gauge whether you really knocked him down or if he's just going down so you could jump there and he can try to submit you. But I just think that Islam's game plan, his ability to fight in different phases, just puts him just a step ahead of Charles. Now, I will admit that I do wish that Charles would win this fight. I hope that he wins this fight because he, in my opinion, is the most exciting fighter in the lightweight division. And that's saying a lot because Rafael Fiziev is in that division. Michael Chandler's in that division. Justin Gaethje's in that division. Dustin Poirier's in that division. Matt Frivola's in that division. But I still think that Charles do Bronx Oliveira is the most exciting fighter in the division, maybe in the sport. So I do kind of hope that he wins.
All right now.
But I think Islam is the one that's going to take it. That's my pick.
So you think Islam's wrestling is better than Charles' jiu-jitsu?
I wouldn't necessarily say better, but I think that his wrestling is good enough to nullify Charles's jiu-jitsu. So he can, and Islam has some pretty decent jiu-jitsu of his own. So I think that he's able to nullify any of those things when it comes to passing guard. He's not going to put himself in a bad position. He's not going to rest in positions where Charles can capitalize and sweep. I think that he's super knowledgeable about where he's safe and what he can do. So I don't think that he falls into those traps.
Yeah, so he's where he needs to be.
Yeah.
Okay. I do think he's a little bit stronger. So when you say nullify that, I am thinking it's because he's stronger, because he seems heavier than Charles.
Yeah.
I mean, what about mentally? Mentally, you think Makhachev is... So I asked mentally because when he fought little man, bald guy, Viking
Volkanovski.
Thank you. When he fought Volkanovski, there was some. Ooh, I'm ready to get the fuck out of here in his eyes. I don't see that a lot from Oliveira.
Not anymore. No, he's past that. But you're saying that Islam had that? Yeah, he did have that. You're right. I think that Volk surpassed his expectations when it comes to what Islam thought he was facing. He thought he was fighting a featherweight. And it turns out that Volkanovski is a legit lightweight. Legit. And all the things that he was trying to do, he's not going to be as successful against Volkanovski because of how well-rounded Volkanovski is and how smart he is in the cage. I think that Charles just has a different game. If you're looking at different meters and, they have this on UFC 5 and UFC 4, I'm sure, but like for striking or for jiu-jitsu, you got a certain amount of stars or your meter is up a certain way. I think that Volkanovski's is more balanced than Charles is, but Charles is really heavy on the jiu-jitsu side, that sort of thing. So I think that Islam takes advantage of where those deficiencies are. And I think that's why this matchup doesn't work for Charles. Unfortunately, I would say.
Yeah, this is true.
You know what? Another hot take too. This is a super hot take. We talked about this too. I think you know where I'm going. I think that if, and we'll never see this, but if Islam in his prime fought Khabib in his prime, I kind of think that Islam would win. I actually think that he would win.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Islam would win. And it's because of his striking. That's it.
It is 100% because of his striking. I think that he would nullify the takedown advantage that Khabib has.
Yeah.
And
now
he would make
get it twisted, though. Khabib has some pretty good striking.
He does. He does.
I actually think he has more power, too. But I just think he just wails them everywhere. They're just all over the place. And, Islam is a little bit more precise.
A lot more precise, in my opinion. His kicks are better. Like the reason, in my opinion, the reason that Khabib is able to connect on a lot of the shots is because of the threat of the takedown. Like the shot that he knocked down McGregor with, I don't think Conor had even a thought that was coming. And I mean, easier said than done, but
Very
I think that the threat of the takedown is what caused that shot to land as cleanly as it did. And he won't have that against Islam. He does not have that. Islam takes that away. So now what do you have? How can you set it up with feints, things like that? And I think that Islam is better at doing it. Now, I don't think that he's a better all-time fighter because his resume is still being written. But if they were to fight one night, they're walking in the cage in their prime, I think that Islam wins that fight. Damn, it's a hot take.
Yeah. I was gonna say a random, not random. We're talking about Islam here, and I think you just mentioned it not like a week ago or something, but it is a hot take. I'll give you that.
It is.
I just kind of want to see like how tall is he? Blah blah blah. Oh, he his birthday is September 20th, by the way. I'm also
okay.
September baby, but he's 5'10". Islam is also 5'10".
Yeah. You talking about Islam and Khabib? Or you talking about them too? Are you talking about? Oh, okay. Yeah.
How Islam already have 24 wins?
Who?
Islam already has 24 wins. Yeah.
Man, it's because they be fighting, the postman and all that stuff over in Russia.
What do you mean?
I'm like, well, of course you beat him.
Man, I forgot he fought Thiago Moises. And Drew.
Yes, he did.
And Armin Sarukian. Okay, now wait a minute. Earlier we talked about how things were handed to him, and I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, okay, that's cool. You named Drew Dober, Armin Sarukian, and Thiago Moises.
Dan Hooker, Bobby Green.
Okay. Now name one of those that was in the top 5.
Shot off of Bobby Green, though.
None of them were in the top 5. And 3 of those people aren't even ranked.
Maybe
so
right?
We know who they are. We know them. They have name value. They're popular, and they are really good fighters. Bobby Green's about to headline a card on Saturday against Grant Dawson, but none of those people are in the top 5. None of them.
Saruki is not in the top 5 yet?
No, because if he was, then I'd have a bingo square.
Oh, my bad.
No, he's not. He's not. He's not. He's been close. He's close, but he ain't there yet.
But wait, so is Drew Dober also not in the top 5?
Drew Dober's not ranked.
Oh my God.
Yeah, remember he fought Matt Frivola and lost his rank. Matt snatched that rank.
Hooker,
whom he's fighting for his rank now against Benoit Saint Denis. Both of them dudes need to be ranked. Man, that's going to be a crazy fight. I can't wait for that one.
Good God. Oh, you talking about
what? I'm talking about Benoit Saint Denis against Matt Frivola.
Yeah,
that's going to be an insane fight. That's probably the fight. Helen Yee posted on Twitter, what fight are you most excited for in Q4? And that's the one that I put. That is the fight that I'm most excited for because I really don't know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
But what I do know
Pantoja
is that somebody's probably going to sleep.
Oh. Well, between Benoit and Frivola?
Benoit Saint Denis and Matt Frivola? Yeah, somebody's going to sleep.
Do you think
somebody get knocked out?
Or Pantoja and Royval too?
That somebody's going to get finished? I think that the likelihood of there's a higher likelihood of somebody being submitted in that one because both of them are really good submission artists. So I would favor a submission within the 5 rounds, but it'd probably be the 3rd or the 4th round if there was one.
Brandon Royval is a monster, and he goes out there so fast too, just ready to kill somebody. He's so wild.
Yeah, they do fight. They do fight fast. I mean, no faster. The fastest fight I've ever seen in my entire life was Demetrius Johnson against John Dodson. The first one. They fought twice.
Oh, it looks like
that's one of those go back and watch it fights. Like that fight is so damn fast. But
yeah, we love my
do your homework on that one.
Yeah. All right, that's all we have today. That's
cool.
Yeah, that's the last on the list.
So yeah, that's 5 fights. 5 very interesting fights to go with the 5 fights that we said previously. Oh, but wait, maybe you didn't see that. So if you need to see those 5 fights that we talked about when we played disc golf, check that out up here. But until next time, what?
Stay classy.
But until next time, oh wait, were you about to say it? Am I supposed to say it?
Yeah, you're supposed to say stay classy, and I'm supposed to say
okay. And take 7. All right. But until next time.
Today's October 3rd.
Yeah, it is. Take 36. But until next time, we're never going to get through this. Until next time, stay classy.
And also, thanks for stopping by.